Him.
Finally.
What is
get
this?
to meet Davide.
Good to see you again. What is this?
A surprise for you.
I recognize something. Even with the cover on it. What did you do?
Just one question. What did you prefer in the time, the EB110 GT or the SS?
I liked the wheels of the GT. The only one
Yeah.
in the earth. Yes, I loved that wheels.
Yeah.
But the rest of the car, the Super Sport, was better.
Yeah, the SS. Yeah.
And more sporty.
Yeah. When we were just talking to Gianpaolo Benedini, he also said the SS comes really from his motorsport,
Yeah.
hard motorsport influence.
And this one,
This one already you can see under the cover, that there is a smaller horseshoe. So it has it's one of the first relations to EB110, because this is our homage to the EB110 SS. Exactly. Shall we just uncover it?
should we? He's back.
Look at my favorite view in the rear. This, I think, captures a lot of the essence of the EB110. It immediately reminds you about the car graphically, but it's a very different translation. And I think that's always the most important part when we do homage cars, that we look towards the past and understand the past and understand the car that we're talking about. But the translation has to be a modern one, has to be a future interpretation that ideally is also linked to the performance aspect, so that the form can follow the performance.
CENTODIECI.
Centodeici, here in Campo Galliano. We are very honored that we can be just a guest in the old building. I always call this place the automotive Pompeii, but we thought this is an appropriate moment to tell the story, how things were in Campo Galliano in the 90s, what the EB110 was, and why we consider this car welcome in our history and the trilogy of EB110, Veyron, Chiron.
What about the engine?
Has 100 horsepower more than the Chiron engine. So it's 1600 now.
Wow.
Of course, we had to. There's no way around this, and it was so interesting to have Mr. Benedini here to speak about all these elements. And Gianpaolo is an architect by trade, but he's also a racer by heart. But I can see his influence in architecture all over the EB110. He is a big follower of the Bauhaus philosophy, and I think some of these geometrical elements that you see on the EB110 are really of such simple quality and almost like a Bauhaus kind of style, which was pretty unique at that time, no? It only took then a couple of more years for Audi to really start the Bauhaus design philosophy by the beginning or middle of the 90s.
I really love the windows.
What you can also see is for a Bugatti, we have quite a lot of wedge form, The car that we are quoting in our homage really was a classic 1980s Italian super sports car, a complete wedge. So we had to translate that feeling onto our Chiron package. Normally a Chiron has a relatively relaxed belt line, you know, compensated with a muscle that comes from the rear. On this project, the whole volume of the car and the whole proportion is shifting forward, quite a more aggressive angle of attack towards the front. Also what you see from the side is the quote of the 7-spoke wheel of the SS.
How hard was it for you to do this?
After a lot of thinking, it was not so hard anymore, but it took a lot to turn our brains towards what is really essential about the EB110. Like the graphic on the B pillar, the look of the narrow eyes of the front, the small horseshoe, and the Bugatti Macaron being outside the horseshoe grille. And then also the venting ducts, no, left and right of the headlamps on the EB110. And then a super fast center line. You know, if you look towards an EB110, it's like almost one center line from the Bugatti logo over to the roof, and it's the same with this show car. Therefore, we lowered the front of a Chiron by 150 millimeter, because only then we could really combine it with the free-form smaller horseshoe. So we think bigger is not always necessarily better. I find it a very questionable trend lately that all the grills are getting monstrously big. And then with a logo on the outside, and then tailoring a relatively narrow eye look to the front of the car, because I think this is the resemblance to the EB110. But due to new technology, we can make the eyes quite a bit more slim and also a little bit more mean looking and achieve more width into the car. So we have the feeling of some narrow eyes, but also ultimate representation in width, overall width.
Wow.
You can then still see, apart from the horseshoe, you can see the classic Bugatti elements in the mixture, like the centerline accentuation that you find over the roof, and also the integration of the 5 SS cooling chamfers is integrated in a Bugatti line that runs on the side. So from front and from the top and from the side, it's clearly identifiable as a Bugatti.
Which is very rare today to find. Because all hypercars and supercars are getting closer and similar. And this one is very, very Bugatti.
When you look at the car from the side, you see, when you just go inside view, you see, you know, one wedge line that looks like one line, this line here, no? Look at one line touchdown here. So but when you come around in this position, looking from here, you see how much 3D that has, and actually this line is a 3D line, you know, it goes very strongly and extreme in plan view until here, but then it really kicks out for the volume of the rear fender. So I think this took a long time actually in the studio, in our development, making this line look from the side like a one straight shot, because this is the resemblance to the 110. But when you come a bit more intrigued over the car, you see how much 3D is happening. And I think this is always the trick when you work on an homage car, that you find a way how to make the jump into the future and not get stuck in the past. Then I don't know if you noticed, the fixed wing spoiler also quotes the SS. The SS also had a black spoiler also, leaving the overall body more or less untouched so that you can read the body very clean, and this is almost like a separate element. I think this was already working very well on the SS in the time. Then you see, when we look in top view, you see that we closed the engine compartment completely. And when I explained that, or tried to explain that to the engineers, they said, it's not going to happen. But I said, I need this as a resemblance to the EB110. And they said, okay, then you have to do some serious effort in cooling. And then I researched more material, and in the early prototype phases of the Supersport development, there were NACA ducts in the glass integrated. So we took this and translated this onto the roof. And that gave me, with the engineers, a win-win situation of form following performance and following the idea, together with these chimneys that we have left and right along the cantrail. But the rear is really, I always like when it's ultra simple, things are ultra simple, but they create the necessary stance and the identity into the car. Then you see the exhausts. It's very different to the Chiron. What did we do? We opened up the diffuser in the most valuable area in the middle and put the exhaust pipes left and right, really as a strong stance of the rear end. The wing is fixed, so there's no hydraulic, but you can still adjust the wing mechanically.
Okay.
The big hole all around is there to extract as much hot air from the engine compartment as possible. Gets through the Naka duct, sucked into there, and gets sucked out through the sub-pressure zone in the rear. The lateral parts, the elements left and right that you see, they are existing on the EB110, but you almost overlook them. They're very small, and we really extended them and made them more obvious and more visible. What does that do? It creates much more width impression onto the car. Your eye goes immediately all the way around the plan view and creates this ultimate representation in width. Oh, by the way, look what I have here. Small present for you. Almost forgot.
Thanks. Davide, today was very special for me. Thank you that you were a part of it. Cheers. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Campo Galliano, July 2019. Wow. You made it by hand? Wow. 1 of 20. Thanks.